with around 20 boats and participants from 44 countries, including activist Greta Thunberg. The group is the largest civilian maritime attempt to break the Israeli blockade of the Palestinian territory. Says Tunisian officials rejected the allegations, saying that the explosion occurred inside the vessel. A National Guard spokesperson told local media that claims of a drone attack on the flotilla have no basis in truth. Wait, no basis in truth? No basis in truth? Hold up. You mean to tell me that that's no basis in truth? As we have seen, this footage of a fire coming down onto the boat and causing a fire and destruction on the top deck? And you mean to tell me there's no basis? There's no evidence when you got video right there? So it is sad that the governments that we are under really allow their hands to be tied when it comes to giving real substantial substantive aid to Israel, doing an arms embargo, putting sanctions on Israel, and divesting from Israel as an entity. And so what we know, especially that has been going on, is a lot of the aid that has been really at the gates to Gaza have been held back. They're being prevented from going through, or it's a very small trickle to the point where you have hundreds of thousands of Palestinians that are starving to death, or I should say, being starved to death by the Israeli government. And so as we see this unfold, there have been many crews that have been volunteering their time and energy to doing humanitarian aid and taking a flotilla, a boat with humanitarian aid supplies to Gaza to help the people. And these flotillas consist of things like baby formula, prosthetics for limbs, medicine, diapers, food. That's what these things consist of. And are they dangerous? Absolutely not. If at the very most that you can say, at the very least you can say, these are life-sustaining things that are there for the people of Gaza so that they don't die off, which is the goal of the Zionist regime. And so we've had flotillas happen over and over. In the latest one, there was the Sumud flotilla that actually took off a few weeks ago, a little over a week and a half ago. And the Sumud flotilla actually has went on their way, and of course they had encountered some difficulty especially from the Israeli entity. So one of the things I want to share is, let me see. I wanted to share with you guys the video of them talking about their leaving to go to cover, to help the Palestinian people on the Sumud flotilla. Let me make sure I have it here. Because a lot of people don't realize that this flotilla is something that is life is going to be saving many lives. And so this flotilla has, make sure I have this here. There's been a lot of news lately. Okay. So let's share this here first, and then we will get into what exactly happened. All right. So it says a flotilla challenging Israel's blockade in Gaza arrives in Tunisia with Greta Thunberg among its members.
We are going with dozens of boats that represents more boats that ever attempted to break the siege of Gaza combined, with more people that ever attempted to break the siege combined. And we are going there in a humanitarian solidarity, non-violent mission that is combined with the global uprising that you're doing here in Tunisia and everywhere else in the world.
Actuellement, c'est historique, c'est inédit. Il n'y a jamais eu une initiative citoyenne. This genocide is being enabled and fueled by our governments, our institutions, our companies, our elected officials who are supposed to represent us. End your complicity.
So if anybody remembers, Greta Thunberg, she went famous for being this young child at the time, where she was shaming basically the world for their complicity in climate change. But now she has really blossomed into this freedom fighter against Western hegemony, this freedom fighter who has been fighting against exploitation, against people in the global South, using her privilege in order to be able to do that, which I should note. A lot of people do not talk about how people like herself are using their privilege as a means to bring to the fore what's going on, what our governments are doing in this world. And so I want to share as well exactly what happened to the Freedom Flotilla. And there are many people who were aboard this flotilla who actually were put in danger. And by whom? It is estimated that it was Israel. And there have been some people saying that it might have, it could have been somebody on behalf of Israel. So I just want to share this first. This is on board the flotilla, and we shall get to this. And then there's another video from a vantage point that I want to share as well. If those of you haven't seen it yet, then this is going to be your first time seeing it. Please keep an eye on this and make sure to share the story as well. So this is the flotilla right here from one of the cameras. And they're off the coast of Tunisia, right near Tunis, which is the capital of Tunisia.
We've been hit by what appears to be a drone. The vessel's on fire. There's a fire in the front deck. We've been hit. We have been hit. The vessel is on fire. We are off the coast of Tunis. It was a loud explosion. I was on the top deck. The police are arriving. Paddy, it was a massive explosion. Are we abandoning ship? I don't know. It was a massive explosion. A massive explosion. Just meters away. We've been hit by what appears to be a drone. Guys, we have been attacked in what appears to be a drone attack. The vessel is on fire. I repeat, the vessel is on fire. We were on the family boat at about 11:30 p.m. A loud explosion came from the boat is on fire.
So that's the flotilla right there on fire as last night.
Au secours, il y avait une sorte de, je sais pas c'est quoi, mais c'était une sorte d'explosion. Là, c'est live. J'espère que les personnes vont bien. Là, je vois.
So the horrible part is, what threat were they to anyone? What threat were they to civilians? What threat were they even to the military? They are a peaceful, unarmed vessel carrying humanitarian aid, and violence was struck on them for daring to do a peaceful act of giving food, medicine, and other forms of aid to a people that are going through a Holocaust. And so this is why so many people are speaking out now. This is why so many people are saying that Palestine needs to be free, because of acts like this, just daring to put the lives of people who are trying to deliver humanitarian aid in danger. And so I want to share this other vantage point, because it didn't really capture how intense this was. But I want everybody to see this as well. This is the vantage point from outside of the boat on a neighboring vessel. Let's take a look here. So here you have right there. So as you can see, it came from the sky, right? See, it came from the sky from a drone. And why am I emphasizing this? Why am I emphasizing that this came from the sky from a drone? Because now you have some authorities that are saying, oh, they started that fire. So it was start the fire on the boat. Does that look like somebody started the fire on the boat? Does that look like self-sabotage to you? The video evidence is right there. But according to some, well, started on the boat. Let's go here. So this says Gaza aid flotilla attacked by drone, organizers say. Tunisian authorities said the explosion came from inside the vessel, rejecting the claim it was hit off the country's coast. You guys saw exactly what I saw. It did not come from the vessel. It came from the sky. And guess what? They said they not only saw, but heard a drone. Tunisian officials, what are you saying? Are you saying that it couldn't have been a drone? Are you not aware of the capabilities of an entity like Israel? Let's get into this article just a little bit. It says Tunisian officials dispute the account, saying the explosion came from inside the vessel. It says acts of aggression aimed at intimidating and derailing our mission will not deter us. That was a statement from the global Sumud Flotilla. Our peaceful mission will break the siege in Gaza and stand in solidarity with its people, continuing with determination and resolution. It says the explosion caused fire damage to the Portuguese flag boat's main deck and below deck storage, but all 6 passengers and crew are safe. With around 20 boats and participants from 44 countries, including activist Greta Thunberg, the group is the largest civilian maritime attempt to break the Israeli blockade of the Palestinian territory. It says Tunisian officials rejected the allegations, saying that the explosion occurred inside the vessel. A National Guard spokesperson told local media that claims of a drone attack on the flotilla have no basis in truth. Wait, no basis in truth? No basis in truth? Hold up. You mean to tell me that that's no basis in truth? As we have seen, this footage of a fire coming down onto the boat and causing a fire and destruction on the top deck? And you mean to tell me there's no basis? There's no evidence when you got video right there? Don't believe your eyes. Don't believe what you see. Don't believe what you hear with your ears. You're mistaken. Is this what the Tunisian officials are saying? See, the governments and the people are 2 different entities. Because from what it looks like, the people who are in Tunisia, they're standing in solidarity. But what about the people in the governments? Let's continue here. It says Miguel Duarte, a crew member, said that the suspected drone stopped close to the flotilla, moved slowly to the front, and then dropped what was obviously a bomb on the forward part of the deck. He said, let me be clear 100%. It was a drone dropping a bomb on the forward deck of our ship. He said his team was absolutely certain that this was a drone attack. He says, I'm okay, but we could have been killed, citing the deaths during the Israel-Hamas genocide of humanitarian and medical workers. It's not a war, it's a genocide that Israel's committing. So it says, if it is confirmed that this is a drone attack, it will be an assault on aggression against Tunisia and against Tunisian sovereignty. That's from Francesca Albanese. And again, we cannot keep on tolerating this and normalizing the illegal. So this is exactly what happened. And a lot of people, like for instance, some of these corporate outlets like NBC News will be like, well, the Tunisian authorities say that it's just not actually, it actually didn't come from outside of the boat. But you saw the footage there. So we all know that's a lie because they literally have the footage there. And I want to go here because I think it is important to get their accounts of what actually happened. So what I'm going to do, let me see if can I fast forward on here? I don't know. I don't know if I can fast forward on Instagram. See, that's the thing about Instagram. Instagram, they don't allow you to fast forward. You just have to play and just let it go through. I should have did this beforehand. Let me see. While I'm waiting on that, let me see here as well. Share with you what Greg Stoker actually has said, because I think this is also important as well. So I'm going to share what Greg Stoker says, and then we'll get to the press conference that they held in Tunisia. All right, so let's get into this.
This now with Greg Stoker, a military and geopolitical analyst at Mint Press News. He was on one of the boats in the flotilla and joins us from Tunisia. Greg, we appreciate you speaking to us. We're now hearing from the Tunisian National Guard, which says their initial inspections show the explosion on the boat was caused internally and seemingly not from a drone. How closely do flotilla organizers work with local authorities in such an investigation that appears to be giving contradictory statements?
Well, first of all, this all happened very quickly. The investigation is ongoing. We are currently reviewing our own security footage, taking witness statements, but based off of our position for the flotilla and our media team, it's definitely indicative that, yes, it was a drone. We have video and audio of a drone overhead, people calling it out, witness statements, and an explosion on the top deck. And photographic evidence of burned life vests, which is where they were staged on the front of the deck of the family Madeira. And yes, we are going to take this one step at a time and only present factual information. So we don't know what actors were involved. We don't know what the purpose behind it was. We can only suspect, but that is our position right now. The National Guard may. Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
No, please continue. Because I did want to ask that this is obviously a dangerous journey that all of you are embarking on, considering that for the last 15 years, no flotilla has been able to get close to Gaza. They've either been intercepted or attacked by Israel. What kind of precautions are being taken going forward for this flotilla, knowing the capabilities and the danger going forward?
Well, this flotilla is a humanitarian operation trying to deliver aid into a population facing state-sponsored annihilation in Gaza and to open a humanitarian corridor in a way that our governments have failed collectively in the Congress of Nations. So we don't have any diplomatic cover necessarily, no military backing. This is, again, a humanitarian operation. We have had precedents in the past of Israeli forces massacring foreign aid workers, the Mari Mariv back in Marmara back in 2010. Most recently, the World Central Kitchen convoy last year. So yes, we are taking very precautions, but one of the biggest, information, not necessarily weapons, but tools we have is basically just presenting to the world that this is a humanitarian effort. We are private citizens trying to embark on this operation. And yes, we know that it's dangerous. We expect intense psychological operations from the Israeli government going forward to deter us. We've seen over the past couple of days, Minister Ben-Gvir say that anyone who comes in to try to deliver aid into Gaza will face sentences in, quote, terror prisons in order to deter future flotillas or humanitarian actions happening again. We anticipate certain things like what journalists endure in Gaza, with intelligence officers calling phones of activists, journalists in the flotilla, ships captains, threatening them. We expect doxing, our names, addresses to be released, any form of intimidation to deter this. We are accounting for. So what was this drone attack? We're not really sure. What actors were behind it? We're not really sure, but it does seem like a psychological operation. However, it doesn't seem like any substantive damage was done to the ship, and the flotilla will sail undeterred.
So let's stop there for a second, because I think this is very important. I want you to realize the amount of sacrifice that is happening when people like the people who are on this flotilla are embarking on, because it won't just end if they're successful and they deliver the humanitarian aid, or if they're unsuccessful and they get intercepted by Israel. It's not just going to stop there. That's just the beginning, because when they get home, you're going to have a lot of the racist Zionist entity people who are going to come after them, and they're going to try to ruin their lives for simply trying to give humanitarian aid to the people of Palestine, to the people of Gaza. And history will view the people who are going against these humanitarian aid workers in a negative light, and the aid workers will be seen as heroes. A long list of heroes who have been trying to do what they can in order to stop this genocide. And so I want to really hone in on the fact that they are not, this isn't just a week and a half's point in time, and then that's it. They have went over and mulled over the contingencies and as well as the possibilities and scenarios in their mind of what could happen in their life for embarking on such a mission. And you're doing it from the imperial core. Many of these people come from Western countries, Western nations. And so because of that, what we can see now is once they're able to get, if they're able to get this humanitarian aid there, I'm hoping they can. But either way you look at it, Israel's lost, because this is just another nail in the coffin in the information war that proves that this genocidal settler or colonialist state has no legitimacy on the world stage. And that is bringing nothing but death and destruction to people. And remember, the Greater Israel Project is not just trying to clear out Gaza. It's not just trying to clear out all of Palestine. It's trying to go into Egypt, Jordan, Lebanon. It's trying to expand beyond that, because it is not just a settler colonial project. It's also a settler imperialist project, meaning that they want to increase the size of the empire. And they are basically twofold in their goal to own the world, just like the United States, essentially. So that's one of the biggest issues that we can see. And so I'm hoping that more people understand the gravity of the situation and exactly what's going on, exactly what happens, and stand in solidarity. And I know of a medical personnel that has actually went to Gaza. They are in Gaza as we speak. providing medical care to Palestinians right now. They're only able to eat one time a day. Diets consist of lentils, maybe peanut butter, and trying to heal the sick and the wounded that Israel is creating. And so I think that's what's important for us to know, is that what they're doing there is absolutely abhorrent. And we need to keep speaking out against this, because we all know, especially those of us who are Black, that our government has exported genocide to other nations, but like a boomerang, the intensity of it comes back. So the genocide started in the West, and the Native Americans and those of us who are American freedmen. It got exported out into other countries, and now, like a boomerang, it will come back, and at greater intensity than it ever has been in a long time. And so this is why it's important for us to continue to speak out against this. And so let's let Greg continue in his commentary.
That is good news, of course, for those, I believe, 17 vessels that are now anchored in Tunisia before you head off. Greg, can you explain to us what the next steps are now in the flotilla actually moving towards Gaza, and how long you think it will take before you possibly reach the shores where you would be able to deliver that humanitarian aid?
Well, it's important to remember that, this is going to take some time. We have no military infrastructure. We do not have a tax base to cover complex naval contingency plans. We are forced through the sailing season to sail now. There is no other choice as we watch the final solution being enacted in Gaza. I come from a military background. Do I wish things were more structured and we had better infrastructure? Of course, but we don't really have a choice. We have to sail now. And yes, we are reconsolidating, refitting in Tunisia to head out towards Gaza in the coming days. So if you're looking for an exact timeline, well, we want that too, but we are doing the best we can, remembering that it's our governments who should be doing this and intervening in the world's first live stream genocide.
Greg Stoker, we really appreciate you taking the time to speak to us, and good luck to you and everyone on board that flotilla. We do hope that you embark on your journey safely. Thank you very much.
So this is part and parcel of what our government is allowing. This is part and parcel of what the West is allowing. And I just got to say this. Maybe this is petty of me. Maybe some people may say this is petty of me, but it is what it is. So all the people that rejected me as a friend, who said we're no longer friends anymore because you stand with the people of Palestine, and you're watching this Holocaust play out, do you feel like a fool now? Do you? Do you feel like, oh my gosh, why are all these people being murdered? They keep going back to the 1,200 people that were killed on October 7th. They keep going back to that. But it's estimates that have reached 400,000 Palestinians that have been murdered. 400,000. This was never about hostages. This was never about avenging deaths of people that were killed on October 7th, that died on October 7th. This was never about that. This was about trying to create an excuse to murder and kill and clear the land for resource purposes, for real estate purposes, and to expand the Zionist state of Israel so that they can have more control over West Asia. That's all it's about. This was never about Judaism. This was never about Islam. Never about Christianity. Had nothing. The religion has nothing to do with it. It is all about colonial rule. Basically doing to the Palestinians what European illegals did to this land. And so people need to realize that that's what this is about. Because a lot of times people are going to sit here in hand wring, like Matt Taibbi said, well, this is a complicated issue. No, it's not, Matt. It's not a complicated issue. In fact, it never was a complicated issue. People who say that it's a complicated issue, it's a cop-out. It's quite clear. Those of us who live or exist in marginalized groups, it's not that simple. It's not that complex. It's actually quite simple. The problem is you get a lot of people who say, well, it's kind of complex. I can't really have an opinion on it. No. Don't do that. It is not a complicated opinion. It's just you refuse to have an opinion on it because you don't want to make Zionists mad. You don't want to hurt Zionist feelings. Let's be real. And some people who called me their friend in the past who rejected me, they're doing it for the same reasons, because they care about the feelings of Zionists over the lives of Palestinians, over the lives of people in Gaza. What matters more, life or feelings? Let's get into this too, because I wanted to make sure I got this here. Here's just some of the press conference that they held in Tunis, in the country of Tunisia, in response to their flotilla being drone struck in Tunisian, off the coast of Tunisia. Let's go.
My name is Miguel Duarte. I'm a Portuguese citizen. Last night, I was on the deck of Family Madeira, one of the ships that composes the global Sumud Flotilla. I was on the deck, on the back part of the ship, and I heard a drone. I came out of the cover of the deck to see a drone hovering about 3 or 4 meters above my head. Called my fellow crew members. 2 of us stood there with the drone exactly 3 or 4 meters above our heads. Then we saw the drone move to the forward part of the deck. It stood a few seconds on top of a bunch of life jackets and then dropped a bomb. The bomb exploded and there was a big flame. There was a fire on board immediately. We picked up the fire extinguishers. We were able to fight the fire successfully and everybody was safe, fortunately. This was a shameful attack and we will not be deterred. Free Palestine. Free Palestine. Free Palestine.
So as we wait for the next person to speak, this has been...
First of all, I'd like to thank all of you for coming here on this moment. And I would like to say thank you to the Tunisian people and to the Tunisian government for all of the support to the global Sumud Flotilla. The way that you received us here, the kindness, the love and the solidarity that you have for the Palestinian people is an example to the entire world. Thank you so much for that. Second, the illegal siege over Gaza exists for 18 years. For 17 years, there are attempts to break this illegal siege. During these 17 years, 37 other boats have either been intercepted or attacked. This is boat number 38 that suffered from an attack. So it's very important that we understand that whenever people ask, will a mission like ours continue? We never forget the reason why we are here. We are not here for us. We are not the story. The story is the Palestinian people in Gaza who have been suffering for 8 decades of genocide and ethnic cleansing that structured itself into an apartheid colonial state and which is led by a racist and supremacist ideology called Zionism. What happened last night just shows to the world who are we dealing with. Who is interested in stopping humanitarian aid to get to starving children in Gaza? Who has been assassinating health workers, United Nations workers, civil defense workers, journalists like you? Who has been committing all of these war crimes? And the reason why we keep on sailing is because the reason that demands a mission like ours to exist, they are not only there, but they are getting worse with the full invasion of Gaza City, the last stage of the ethnic cleansing in Gaza. So whenever someone sees something that can happen to our mission, we know that is a high-risk mission, but it's nothing compared to the risk that the Palestinian people go through every single day in Gaza. So not only we'll continue our mission, we keep on going, but since that happened, thousands and thousands of people are now volunteering again to join our mission because they know how important it is not to live in a world where there are people who think that they own everything, that they can starve children to death, that they can bomb hospitals, shelters, schools, homes, residential areas, and people will do nothing. It's very important that they understand. They have the drones, they have the violence, they have the weapons. We have everything else. We have history on our side that shows that whenever a people is living through colonization and they mobilize and they bring the world together in solidarity, they cannot be deterred. They cannot be defeated. So we stand together, steadfast, as we learn from the Palestinian people, continue our mission that is in the heart and in the mind of a planet of 8 billion people that knows that whenever there is a siege, whenever there are people being starved, we need to keep on going. The Palestinian people never give up, neither will we. We continue our mission to break the siege, to create a humanitarian corridor, and we know we have the world together with us. We know we have international law with us because International Court of Justice provisional rulings prohibit any nation from hindering humanitarian aid to get to Gaza. So that's why we continue doing what is right, not only for us, but what is right in all humanity's heart. This is a task for humanity to accomplish, and we are just part of that. So one last message for the world. We need to rise up. We need to mobilize in demonstrations, in boycotting, breaking the media blockade, breaking the boycott of the big techs on social media. We need to disrupt the arms factories and the mechanisms of the genocide. We need to all be together in this historical task of our generation. Once again, we thank the Tunisian government and most of all the Tunisian people for the warm welcome here. We continue our mission. Thank you so much.
So there was a lot more people who spoke at that press conference, and really the sentiments are felt throughout that this will continue. And I do have a bit of good news for people as well for this particular story, because I think it's important that, you know, we let people know exactly what's going on. And here is a message from from one of the people on the Sumud Flotilla. And he gave a message on Twitter a couple hours ago. So he said, "We're back on our boat, baby." So they are back. They are continuing on their journey to Gaza. They're not stopping. They got a roadblock or they got a speed bump. They fixed, they regrouped, and now they're continuing on. Because people are still being starved. People are still in pain. You literally have people that are undergoing surgery without anesthesia. Burn victims, people who have suffocation, people who are in need of antibiotics, things like that. Like, there's literally people who, I don't want to get gruesome, but it is horrific. It's like a horror film. Some of the things that have been described to me. Horror film. And so, and you've seen the footage, what's going on there. And so I'm happy that they are able to continue in their trek to deliver this humanitarian aid. One thing, though, is very apparent, that no matter what the West, especially the leaders in the West, say, their actions speak louder than their words, and their actions show that they are monsters. So here is the U.S. Press Secretary speaking about what President Trump has said.
The president told that to the Emir and the Prime Minister of Qatar, and the president also overstressed the importance of peace in the region in his conversation with Prime Minister Netanyahu as well. And Prime Minister Netanyahu told President Trump he wants peace and he wants it quickly. That's what the president expects to happen. The president.
So he wants peace and he wants it quickly, and yet a humanitarian vessel with some American citizens on board was just drone bombed. And now, as we can see, there has actually been recent developments where Qatar, the country of Qatar, has been bombed by Israel. And that's a breaking news story that has just come out over the last few hours. And so just want to cover this really quick, just so that people know what's going on in conjunction with what just happened. So let me go here. Let's see here. Yes. And make no mistake, Trump is not a peace president at all.
Of Qatar. Otherwise, the Qatari diplomacy.
Sorry. So it says Hamas leaders survive Israeli attack on Qatar's Doha. 6 others were killed. So it says the Israeli army says it carried out an assassination attempt on top Hamas leaders in Qatar's capital, Doha, where multiple explosions have been heard. Hamas confirms that its leadership survived the attack, while 6 others, including Qatari security officer, were killed. It says the strike could further Israel's status as a pariah with Gulf states. Andreas Krieg, a senior lecturer at King's College in London, has said that Israel's attacks on Qatar could have long-term consequences for its relations with Gulf states. If this comes to be true, then that their Hamas leadership has survived then what we're seeing is a tactical disaster. Israel has certainly gambled and it took a massive risk. And if they were unsuccessful with taking that risk, it comes with a massive cost. The primary cost is strategic and diplomatic. I think normalization with Saudi Arabia was dead anyway, but I think the direct attack by Israeli on the GCC countries will also put into question the Abraham Accords and the entire normalization track that Trump has supported since 2020. It certainly puts to bed any normalization between Saudi Arabia and Israel, and it will increase the fear within the Gulf states of Israel as a pariah state, which now reigns very similar to the pariah status of Iran. And so this is the Qatari prime minister calls the Israeli attack a state terrorism. So Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al-Thani says that the Israeli strikes on Doha can only be interpreted as state terrorism. So this recently just happened. But the crazy part about it is that when Iran decided to send missiles to Israel, Qatar intercepted those missiles. But then Israel sends missiles into Qatar, and Qatar doesn't do anything about it. And this reminds me of the conversation. I think, was it Ben Norton? Might have been Ben Norton or Danny Haifong that was saying it. But a lot of these countries in the Gulf states and in West Asia, they play both sides. Like Turkey plays both sides. Saudi Arabia, their solidarity with Gaza and with Palestine is very surface level, and it's almost like we're going to write it. It's almost like the energy of we're going to write a strongly worded letter to the West, but they're not actually about that life, right? So Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Jordan, some of these countries, they don't really have the intestinal fortitude to really tell Israel where they can shove it and show them how, right? Besides Yemen and Iran, everybody else is kind of like, I don't know, including Qatar, which also owns Al Jazeera, by the way. So the problem is that now you have all these issues that are happening. You have the Sumud Flotilla that got drone bombed, which people are trying to give humanitarian aid to Israel. You have Palestinian resistance leaders in Qatar. And then Israel decides to send bombs to Qatar in order to get them. And it's like, if you guys know exactly where they are, you guys know which building they're in. That means that whenever they bomb people in Gaza, that means that they knew there were children in there. They knew that there were innocent people in there. Military technology is so advanced. They could be in a drone, thousands of feet up. And they can see, you can put a penny on your foot and they'll be able to see the penny. They'll be able to even read the penny. That's how advanced their technology is. And you mean to tell me that you're just indiscriminate bombing because you guys don't know who's, in that building? No, they know. They just don't care. And also, I'm going to make this statement here because I made it before, but I think I'll make it again. When we talk about what's going on in Palestine, we put a lot of emphasis on the lives of women and children. Oh my God, they're murdering women and children. let's not forget the Palestinian men that are also being murdered. And the resistance fighters. Let's not forget them. Number one, there's no such thing as a perfect victim. But they also have their right to resist occupation by any means necessary. Let's clear that away. And the Palestinian men that we typically, we don't really want to touch, even though they lose their lives. These are fathers, grandfathers, uncles, sons. Brothers. Their lives matter too. A life of a child and a life of an adult are equal. The life of a man and a life of a woman are equal. A life is precious no matter the gender, no matter the age. Let's pin that there. Let's pin that there. Because the thing is, like, everybody wants to go, oh my God, the women and children. Yes, the women and children are very important, but the men are just as important. All the lives are just as important. And we got to make sure we make that, we demarcate that. We let people know. People want to try to say, well, they're terrorists. I'm sorry, but who's on whose land? Who's carrying out a genocide? What was it? Over 250,000 people that were ethnically cleansed and displaced back in 1948? And continuously, year after year, when Israel mows the lawn, are we talking about that? I implore everybody to really do your research, especially when it comes to what's been going on. Because this is what a 76, almost 77 year illegal occupation that has been going on. That people suddenly think that happened on October 7th, 2023. Like, no, get the hell out of here. You got to look at history to know exactly how it got to that point. And now you have these countries that are doing all this. You have, Israel doing this to Qatar. And Qatar somehow was, not really fighting back. Let's take a look at this. This is from Double Down News. It says today Israel bombed Doha in Qatar. Yesterday, Israel bombed the flotilla in Tunisia. Last week, Israel murdered the prime minister of Yemen. Last few months, Israel bombed Iran, Lebanon, and Syria. Tell me, what country on earth could get away with that? Then ask yourself why. I mean, they're not wrong. Constantly doing these things. I want to share this as well. This is my sister Savvy Savs. Right here. Great question. Israel strikes Hamas leadership in Qatar. If Israel knows exactly where Hamas leadership was in Qatar, then they know there are children in those buildings and they are killing in Gaza. Also, is Qatar going to sit back and not say anything about Israel striking their country? And she shows the headline, Israel strikes Hamas leadership in Qatar. The Israeli Defense Forces and Shin Bet intelligence agencies said that they had carried out a precise strike targeting senior Hamas leadership. She says, I am 100% convinced this so-called negotiation was a trap organized by the U.S. government. And one more thing I want to share. Well, two more, actually. Here's Max Blumenthal, the Gray Zone. Because apparently the U.S. actually knew about it beforehand. It says 2 days ago, Trump issued a short proposal in warning designed to compel Hamas exiled leadership to gather in Doha. Hamas said at the time it looks like Trump's proposal was written by the Israelis. When Hamas met today in Doha, U.S. air defenses in Qatar stood down. U.S. air defenses in Qatar stood down. Israeli officials have told the Jerusalem Post that the U.S. greenlit the decapitation strike. The negotiations have reached their death knell as Israel moves towards its final solution in Gaza, and the Trump administration has once again shown its true face as a subsidiary of the Zionist regime. A lawless axis of messianic genocidal gangsterism spans seamlessly from Tel Aviv to Washington. And he shares this. Trump issues last warning to Hamas to accept Gaza hostage deal. Says the Israelis have accepted my terms. It's time for Hamas to accept as well. And then it says exclusive to Drop Site News, the 100-word proposal Trump sent to Hamas. It looks like it was written by the Israelis. Hamas official told Drop Site News. And then it says Israeli officials told the Post that the U.S. knew about the attack beforehand and gave it the green light. The U.S. Embassy in Doha has issued a shelter-in-place order for all U.S. citizens. So they knew. It wasn't a surprise. And this is all a part of the settler colonial project that is the United States and Israel. So keep your eye on what's going on with the Sumud Flotilla. In fact, let me put the Twitter for the Sumud Flotilla in the chat so you guys can follow that. I think it is great that you guys keep track of that, because as things continue, as these issues continue, it is going to get very intense over the next few days. Make sure I get it here. Okay. You see. Oop. It's not what I wanted. I'll just copy it from here. All right, so then you guys have that there. And I'll make sure to also put it in the description below too for the clip. Keep your eyes on them and keep your eyes on what's happening in Gaza. And please do not, whatever you do, do not stop talking about what's going on in Palestine. Thank you so much for watching, and I appreciate it from the top and bottom of my heart. If you'd like to see any more, you can look here.